A reading from Shadows of the Western Door by Mason Winfield. Introduction. For most of the 20th century, it seems, Western New York has been on the short end of a pervasive geographic snobbery. The region's national image, symbolized by its nucleus, Buffalo, is probably that of a humble Rust Belt domain of faint initiative, withering spirits, and migrating talent. A homely place where not too much ever seems to happen. Some of this image problem is our own fault. A city that routes expressways through its Olmsted parks and between its citizenry and its waterfront cannot blame fate that its staple industry is not tourism. Even in a spiritual sense, the region seems out of public favor, as if no respectable vision quest could skirt Taos or Stonehenge and conclude here. But it was not always so. The first white settlers of Western New York marveled at its relics and earthworks, evidence of earlier cultures whose settlement may have been more constant and populous than in any other region of the Americas. They stared into the ancient woods, across the landscape changing through its 4 full seasons, or down the peaceful creeks, and wondered mightily about their human history. By the middle of the 19th century, this region seemed miraculous as a source of religious zeal that led to cults, communities, most of them counterculture, and 2 major modern religions. Many thought some occult energy native to the area must be behind this, and many other manifestations. This book, A Paranormal Survey of Western New York, is an informal consideration of just that subject. Modern parapsychology, psychical, psi research has 3 general studies, almost all of which are conducted in laboratories. Extrasensory perception, ESP in humans and animals. Psychokinesis, PK, mind over matter, supernatural, psychical abilities. And theta research, life after death. Despite this apparently clear-cut chart, physical research in the late 1990s seems to lack strong direction. Even as the AMA begins to consider alternate healing practices and computer printouts support the validity of astrology, the goals of psychical research societies are curiously diffuse, and elsewhere the defenders of psi research seem on the general run. However, the supernatural industry, that is, public interest in the subject for fun and guidance, is doing very well, as it usually does at the end of a century, and does invariably at the end of a millennium. This book is not psychical research. It is a regional survey into the, quote, fuzzy fringe, unquote. We'll use the term, quote, paranormal, unquote, for almost all of it. That seems to flank the parameters of laboratory research. UFOs, mystery monsters, hauntings, earth energies, ancient anomalies, offbeat religious groups, magical societies, and even old-fashioned ghost lore. Some of this, of course, with the fuzz off, represents real venues for understanding. We ran a comb over Western New York and commented on some of what we came up with. The reader will find chapters in each of the rough categories that organize themselves as we went along. We first got onto the idea of a book like this during research into the Roycroft, East Aurora's arts and crafts movement community, which we suspect was involved with mysticism and maybe a bit more. Attempting to understand its location here, we dug into the roots of the region around it a little bit. And with each metaphoric spadeful, something else interesting came up. This, we figured, was a sign of something and a story worth telling. As we debated how to limit our survey area, we realized that probably any limit was artificial. If the paranormal disrespects Earth's physical laws, it would hardly heed human geographical boundaries. The old Genesee country was New York State west of the line dropped south from Sodus Bay, along Seneca Lake, through Elmira. This was the general territory of the Seneca Nation, the historical inhabitants of western New York. Their old title was, quote, the Keepers of the Western Door, unquote, the guardians of the western entrance to the landscape longhouse. Their Iroquois confederation was envisioned. Though they took this land from many others by force of arms, it was theirs when the whites arrived, and we cannot forget them in any page of our study of their traditional territory. End reading.